Hey y'all, I'm back and I have more of your paranormal stories. I've been slacking on filming. I feel like I was doing really well for a while. Like, I'm still gonna have videos, obviously, but I was filming so much, like every week, and this week I have not. And so I'm honestly really excited to get into these stories because I feel like I haven't scared myself enough this week. This first story says, "It lives in my hallway." Hi Courtney and friends, my name is Melina. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that. I've been a follower for a long time, since before T. The story I'm writing about takes place when I was still in high school, about 2017, and involves myself, my mom, and one of my sisters, whom I'll be calling Kay for privacy reasons. To make this story a bit easier to understand, I'm going to give you a layout of my mom's house. I've since moved out. The main entrance to our house leads directly to our dining and living rooms. If you were to stand in between the two rooms and look to your left, you would see the hallway that leads to my sister's and my bedroom, and then the guest bathroom and the basement. The hallway is where almost everything takes place. Now that that's explained, let's move into the actual story. For as long as I can remember, my entire family has always been sensitive to the paranormal. As my sisters and I have gotten older, our experiences have become much more frequent. We live on a very haunted property, but most of the spirits respect our heavy boundaries about not bothering us in our home. However, this one did not, and this is one of the few experiences that everyone endured. I was a junior in high school, about 16 or 17, and my younger sister was 13 or 14. We were sitting on our couch watching TV when I noticed something move out of the corner of my eye in the hallway. I look over and caught a glimpse of a black shadow disappearing through the door of our basement. For a while, this is all it would do. I would see it every so often, standing in the hallway, then disappearing shortly after I look at it. After a few weeks of this, I saw the shadow in the corner of my eye, and I look over, expecting it to disappear through the basement door like always, but it didn't. Instead, it moved slightly down the hallway and disappeared into my youngest sister's room. I followed it and told it to stay out of our rooms. After that, I didn't see it for about a month. I forgot about it after a while, and life moved on. About a month after the bedroom incident, I was in my bathroom getting ready for bed. I had just opened the door to head to my room, and there it was again, standing in the hallway. I decided to ignore it again, and I guess it didn't like that, as it proceeded to jump on me and drag me to the floor. Before I could scream though, it was gone again. I tried to shake it off and went to my room, unsurprisingly not getting any sleep. The next morning I told my mom what happened and asked her what I should do. She took me outside and saged me and then cleansed the house. I feel like we went over that really fast. It jumped you? You got jumped by a fucking shadow person. Oh my god, okay. We thought everything was fine for about a week until Kay started to get sick. As the days went on, Kay got sicker and sicker, so we moved her into my room with me. This continued to happen for weeks. One night I woke up, as I had started to do every night after the shadow had pounced on me. Something told me to get out of bed and check on Kay, and I am so glad I did. My mom and stepdad had bought a bunk bed for Kay and I after she had moved into my room. So I get out of my bed and look up to check on Kay, and there it was. Except it wasn't a shadow anymore. It was light gray and stick thin. I could see all of its bones. Its head was an abnormal ovular shape, and its eyes were completely blacked out. It had sharp yellow teeth and sharp black claws, and worst of all, it was sitting on Kay's chest, staring straight at her. I sucked in my breath and just watched it for what felt like an eternity, paralyzed in fear. When I finally shook myself out of my state, I yelled louder than I've ever yelled before. I told it to get off my sister. In response, it turned its head and smiled at me. My mom came busting through the door and slammed the lights on, and it was gone. I told her what happened, and we took Kay to a family friend who's a medicine woman and had her do a soul cleanse on Kay, myself, and my mom. She later came to our house and performed a ritual cleansing of our home and drew a heavy barricade around our house. We never saw whatever that thing was again, and Kay slowly started to get better. She has no memory of this point in time ever happening, but my mom and I still remember it vividly. If you made it to the end, thank you for reading. I know this sounds insane, and to be honest, if it hadn't happened to my family, I wouldn't believe it either. Like I said though, this is one of the many paranormal experiences my family has gone through. If you would like to hear more, let me know. I can't even imagine what the fuck else you've been through. That has to be one of the scariest things I've ever read. One of the, you got jumped by a ghost, and then the description of it, oh, I'm so good. I cannot express to you how happy I am that that thing is gone and that the cleansing worked, because holy Okay, this next story, I'm not sure what the title was. I had to copy it and send it to myself because it posted kind of weird on the subreddit, so I don't have a title for this one. we're just gonna get into it. Hey Courtney, my name is Bella and I've been watching you for almost 8 years now. Can I just say really quickly, the amount of people who submit stories to me and tell me they've been watching me for 8, 9, whatever, how many years, or like since before T. I was gonna say it shook me to my core. It shakes me to my core. Does that make sense? Present tense. I love you guys. You're like my little family. This story is something that happened a couple weeks ago, so it's still fresh in my mind. This was my first big instance with the paranormal. I have a few other smaller instances and can put them all in a post later. To begin, I need to explain the layout of my house a little bit in order for it to make sense. It has 2 stories, and to the right of the staircase is the kitchen, living room, and at the end of the hallway is the back door. This door has a big glass pane in the middle of it, and it's pretty see-through. The backyard is a decent size with a forest right across from it. It was nighttime, and I was upstairs with my dad and dog watching TV. I decided I was going to take my dog outside and then go to bed, say goodnight to my dad, and rush downstairs with my dog. There was one light on in the kitchen, and halfway to the door, I saw something move. It was my older brother, let's call him Josh, and he was facing towards the forest right by the porch. It just stopped raining, so I figured he just went out for some fresh air. I would also like to note that my dog was growling, but she growls at everything, so this wasn't really out of the ordinary. I opened the door, turned on the porch light, and my dog rushed outside to go do her thing. I loudly asked, "Hey Josh, what are you doing out here?" I didn't get a response from him. Josh? I asked again. Silence. I suddenly hear my dad yell from upstairs, "That's not Josh." Startled, I slammed the fucking door so hard and locked it immediately. What the hell does he mean that's not Josh? Almost immediately, this thing turned around and my heart stopped. It did look like my brother, but the face was really off at the same time. The eyes were almost bulging out, and the smile, this thing smiled at me so wide it was unlike anything I've ever witnessed. It was inhuman and terrifying. I tried to scream and yell for my dad, but I was frozen in fear. My jaw was locked shut as I tried to make any noise, but nothing would come out. My heartbeat was so loud as I had to forcefully stare at this thing against my will. Minutes had to have gone by, maybe seconds. I don't know, because it felt like a lifetime. It was then that I had a horrifying realization. My dog, she's still outside with this thing. As if having the same realization, it turned around and ran straight towards her. I was finally able to move and unlock the door, not caring that this thing was still here, but out of panic and fear for my dog. When I found her, she was thankfully okay, but the thing was gone. It ran past her into the woods. I picked her up and ran inside. My dad finally came downstairs and my brother followed to ask what happened. Apparently, he was in his room playing video games the entire time. Hysterically crying, I told him the best I could and noticed he didn't look confused or shocked about what I was telling him. He told me this has happened to him before, but with mom instead. He thought she was outside and quickly learned it wasn't her. He didn't tell us because he assumed it was exhaustion and a one-time thing. At this point, I'm full-on convinced that the woods behind our house are haunted, because what do you mean this has happened not once but twice? With like 2 different versions of 2 of your family members. Regardless, I pray this doesn't happen again, because even now, I still can't look my brother in the eyes. I picture this thing in my nightmares and will never be able to fully escape it. I don't think I will ever fully recover from that, and I'm grateful to be moving out soon. If anyone got this far, thank you for listening, and I love you, Courtney. I love you too, and I'm so sorry. I am so glad you guys are moving. Burn the house down. Burn the woods down. How about that? No, the fact that it was 2 different family members. Last story, protective ghost grandma, and then in parentheses, nanny. Hi Courtney, I've been a long-time viewer, but I've never posted. I have tons of stories that I thought I would start sharing. This one gets kind of long, so buckle up. When I was 13, my parents got a new house for us out in the country. We'd lived there very happily, enjoying the peace and quiet. Years later, my aunt wanted to join us, so my parents decided to add on a mother-in-law suite, one that I would move into in 2017 after my aunt decided to move at a later time than expected. While living there, I had 2 roommates. For a while, there were no sounds, no cold spots, uncomfortable feelings, any of that. The moment I knew my house was haunted was the night I heard him speak. As a paranormal enthusiast, I've always wondered what it would be like to live in a haunted house. My grandma, or nanny, she hated to be called grandma, she said it made her sound old, would have these amazing ghost stories from different places she had lived, and I would eagerly listen to them all, even if it was the 3rd time hearing it. None of them were ever actually scary, but more of a, hey homeowner, I'm here too. And don't get me started on ghost shows. I'm obsessed. Anyways, back to our friend in my house. One night after I'd gotten ready for bed, I went to use the restroom one last time before laying down. My 2 roommates had already fallen asleep, and the one I shared a room with wore headphones to listen to something as she slept. Probably dangerous now that I think about it. However, as I walked from the en-suite bathroom to my bed, the main bedroom door opened. Now, I had a cat at the time, and at first I thought it was her, only to realize she was outside for the night. She was adventurous, that was normal for her. So I brushed it up to me just passing by and the airflow suctioning the door into the room. What's the harm, right? Wrong. As I laid down in bed and turned on my left-hand side, I heard it. A deep male voice from the right side of my bed. I don't remember what he said, but I shot out of bed, called to my sleeping roommate to see if she had said anything, and when she didn't answer, I leaned my head in to see if it was just her music I had heard. It wasn't. Her headphones were so low you had to be up right next to her to even hear a semblance of any sound. Safe to say, I ran to my parents' house that night and slept on their couch. Sorry, girls. As time went on, I would continuously hear voices, footsteps, door handles would move. I'd even come to see him pacing my bedroom from time to time out of the corner of my eye. At first, I was terrified, but then I thought, what would Nanny do? She wouldn't let something like that scare her. She would take charge. So that's exactly what I did. And that night, before bed, I had established a routine. Each night, I would tell my ghost, who I had affectionately named Edmund, to be quiet at night so I could sleep, and that all of his creeping around scared me. And on the nights I asked that, no noise would be heard. However, the nights I would forget, someone was constantly getting up and sitting down on the couch, walking down the hallway, things would start to move around, you name it, he had free reign of the place. At first, my parents didn't believe me, since I lived in a mother-in-law suite, their house was right next door. I would tell them about the noises I would hear, the things I would see, and they would chalk it up to my active imagination. I was in college at the time. It would be one night at dinner, while rehashing more of what Edmund had done that week, that they began to believe too. My brother, first to speak up, mentioned, well, sometimes I think I see someone sitting in Dad's chair out of the corner of my eye, and when I look, no one's there. To that, my dad, who notoriously did not believe in ghosts, responded, you too? My mom looked at us like we were all crazy. Come to mention it, if I'm watching TV, sometimes I can see someone in the kitchen out of the corner of my eye, and when I look, nobody will be there, my dad continues. Or have you noticed that when you turn off the TV during a show, it'll come back on? It's always stayed off after the show ends. My brother chimes in. It went on for a few minutes, the dinner table a mess of all the sights and sounds we had seen, without telling anyone else. By the end of dinner, we all believed in Edmund, and it seemed like he moved from place to place. We lived peacefully with Edmund for a few years, my brother always making sure to turn the TV off after a show was completed, and only around the beginning of 2020 did I learn that the area our house was built was suspiciously near an old Native American tribal land where we believed to be where Edmund may have come from, as there was no other evidence of anyone living on the property before then. January 29th, 2020, Nanny goes into heart surgery. Sadly, she doesn't make it out. After a long travel week, tears, laughter, it's what she would have wanted, stories, and time with the family, we made the trek home. The first night back, we all started to wonder how she was doing, if she was in heaven seeing all of her siblings and grandpa. Seeing me lean against the doorway, my dad gestures in the room. Why don't you sit in your rocking chair instead of standing, Ashlyn? My dad asks from his reclining chair, my mom sitting on the couch opposite of him. Walking over, I get this feeling that maybe we aren't alone, but it's not the same as how Edmund feels. This one is more airy, light. I think I'll just sit at the footstool instead, I reply, sitting down to face my parents. Perplexed, my dad looks at my mom, who shrugs her shoulders, and then back at me. But why? My dad asks. Gesturing to the rocking chair behind me, I say, because I'm pretty sure somebody's already sitting there. That night, sitting with my family, I believe my nanny was there too, saying her final goodbyes. Fuck, you're gonna make me cry, don't do that. She wasn't supposed to go so soon. Fuck. I get this like tingling in my nose when I'm about to cry. Okay, she wasn't supposed to go so soon, but life works in mysterious ways. Oddly enough, I think she also told Edmund to say goodbye that night too, because ever since then, the house has remained eerily silent. And even though I've moved out, the house remains calm, making me wonder where exactly it was that Edmund went off to, and if he went with my nanny to wherever it is we go after this. Wherever they are, I hope they're happy. Well, that's all I have this time. This story is 100% real as I've lived through it all. I'm like literally, I have plenty of stories too if anybody would like to hear anything else. Maybe I even share some of Nanny's. I know she would love for them to be shared. Please. No, like there's nothing I want more in this life than to hear Nanny's stories. I'm crying over Nanny. I feel like Nanny helped Edmund cross. And I hope they're at peace, and I hope they're so happy, and I hope they're like telling each other stories, and I hope he's like, oh my god, I was haunting your fucking granddaughter. But I seriously would love to hear your nanny stories. But that's all I have for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any other paranormal stories that you want to share with me or the community, I will have my subreddit linked down below. I'm gonna ramble a little bit at the end of this about my boy, Gumby. Rimble. We had a little bit of a scare, but it's fine. Like, everything is fine. But yeah, I just want to like ramble about that really quickly. But I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Okay, oh my gosh. So the reason I haven't really been filming a lot this week, like I kind of said at the beginning of the video, is because Rumble freaked me out like pretty bad. So this video doesn't go up for a little bit after I'm filming it, but I'm just gonna talk about it as if it's present day because it doesn't really matter anyways. So last Saturday, I was petting Rumble in the morning. Like, he jumped into my bed when I woke up, and I pet this man every day because he lives for pets. And so I was petting him like I normally do, and he likes to be pet like on his butt. And so I was petting like by his tail, and I felt a lump. And that had not been there the day before. And so this lump quite literally appeared overnight, and it scared the shit out of me, you guys. And so I immediately start crying because I'm like, oh my God, like I don't know what this is, and it appeared so suddenly, and it's like just scary because you never really know if something like that is going to be serious. So I immediately at literally 6 a.m. go and make an appointment request with my vet. And then I check, and they're not open on the weekends, which I feel like a lot of vets aren't unless it's like an emergency vet. So I'm like, he's like acting normal, like he's on my bed, he wants to be pet, he's still being social. I had watched him eat and drink the day prior, and so I was like, I don't know if this is something where I need to bring him in right this second. So then I ended up calling, well, I actually had my boyfriend call because I was crying. And I knew I would cry harder if I talked to a vet. So my boyfriend called a vet that was open and explained to them that we had just found it this morning. It seems to have appeared overnight, whatever. And the girl basically said that if he's acting normal, then we would be fine to wait for our vet to open on Monday. Just monitor that like he's eating and drinking and using the litter box and all that stuff. And if anything changes, then to call them back or to bring him in. So I pretty much spent all Saturday, my eyes glued to Rumble. He was eating, drinking, like he was fine. Like he was acting perfectly fine. And then Monday comes around and my vet opens. They open at like 8 a.m. or something. And I was waiting for them to call me because I had put in the appointment request, and I had explained on the appointment request like what it was for. And by like 9, they hadn't called me yet. So I was like, I might as well just call. So I call them, they don't answer, I leave a voicemail re-explaining things again. They call me back within 30 seconds and she's like, we can see him tomorrow. Like literally she could tell that I was panicking. And I use a mobile vet, so they come to my apartment. It's just a little bit less traumatizing for my cats. Also, Rumble, I cannot get into a carrier to save my life. That man will fight me to the death. And it's a little more expensive, kind of a lot more expensive. But I think it's worth it to not cause that like stress on them. I know it's like a luxury thing, whatever. I don't even feel like I need to explain that though, like whatever. So she was like, they'll be in your area tomorrow so we can like stop by, whatever. So he's still acting normal at this point. The vet gets there the next day and he comes in and he's like, just like feeling it, whatever. And I had explained to them because the lump was like squishy. Sorry if that's gross. It was like kind of big and it was squishy. And so I had explained that to them and he felt it and he was like, okay, like just feeling it, it feels like it's a fatty, an abscess, like a fatty tissue. I can't exactly remember what he said, but he was like, which would be harmless. But he was like, I'll take a sample of it and we'll test it like in the lab, whatever, just to make sure there's no cancerous cells, there's no bacteria, there's nothing abnormal. And they took a sample of it, which was like, I hate watching them do anything to my animals. I'm like holding Rumble like on the floor, like petting him while he takes a sample of this thing. It didn't even hurt Rumble, like he couldn't even feel it, but I'm like, I hate needles and I'm sure my children do too. Anyways, he takes the sample, he puts it on a slide. He even shows me the slide and he was like, literally just from looking at it, he's like, it looks like fat. He's like, it doesn't look like anything else. So he's like, but I'll test it and I will call you either tonight or tomorrow. And then I had to go run to the store, maybe like an hour after this, after the vet left. And he calls me. They called me so fast. They tested it so fast. I love this vet. You don't even understand. So he calls me and he's like, hey, I had a second, I tested it. He's like, it's just fatty, like it's a fatty tissue abscess, whatever the fuck. It's a fatty tissue lump. So Mr. Rumble is fine. Thank God. You guys, I was a wreck that morning when I found it. I mean, when I tell you my cats are my children, they're my entire life. Like I was like, Rumble, and I kept saying to Rumble, like, you're not allowed to die, you're not allowed. And my boyfriend was like, stop saying that. He's like, don't put that into the universe. He was like, he's going to be fine. We found it so fast. He's like, it's gonna be okay. He's like, because if this is something, he's like, you found it the morning it appeared, like he will be okay. And so yeah, I'm just really, really, really relieved that Rumble's fine, but that's like kind of why I've taken like a little pause on filming as much, which is fine because I was like ahead on videos, like a decent amount, but now I'm just gonna have to like get myself ahead again. But I'm like, I don't care. Like I needed a couple days to like process and hang out with my boy. The vet did say that I should like monitor the lump though, and if for some reason it changes, like if it gets hard or if it gets like bigger, changes shape, or like if anything about the lump changes in any way, or if the lump, if he starts to show like discomfort, like if you touch it and it hurts him, because it didn't hurt him like if you were poking and prodding at it, because that fucking was, he couldn't even feel it. So he said if any of that changes, then we'll reassess. But right now there's no reason to like do anything about it. He said if they did like a surgery to remove it, it would just cause unnecessary trauma and stress to him, and it's not hurting him. It's completely harmless. So he said that we'll leave it alone for now. So he has a little lump on his rump. Gumby's lump. Gumby's hump. Fuck. Gumby's hump lump. Rump lump. Hump. I don't know. But Mr. Rumble is fine, and my cats are gonna live long fucking lives. They better. They better. Because when they go, I go. But yeah, that's it. I just wanted to ramble about that. I don't want to talk about it before because I didn't want to like not have an answer and then be like freaking everyone out and everybody's like worried about Rumble. So I wanted to wait till I had the answer, but yeah. Okay, good. I've been rambling for a long time. I love you guys so much, and so does Rumble. But I'll see you in the next one. Why am I doing this like a normal outro? Whatever. See ya.